Welcome back to Talkin' Shop with ShopSabre. I'm Brandon, back with the gang for episode 75. Chad, how you doing?
Good, you?
I'm doing good. Lee,
Hey,
welcome.
thank you.
We got Lee Roadhamel here today. Garrett,
How we doing?
oh, we're We're here. We're ready. Who's excited for today?
Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. I like it. I like how Chad's just like all business. He already took his jacket off. He's like just ready.
Got it. I'll put it back on.
Are you going to put your jacket back on? Okay, cool.
It's a little chilly here.
It made me nervous when you took your jacket off. I thought we were fighting.
Lee brought the cold weather.
Yeah, Lee, why'd you bring the cold weather? It was so nice last week.
Because my concrete got poured yesterday.
That makes sense.
Yes. So we had to be warmed there, and I had to bring it here.
Fair. All right, I'll accept that answer.
That works.
That works for me. Yeah, so did you do anything fun this weekend, Chad?
Not. I just did the usual golf and
Live tour, tryouts?
get the house ready to sell.
You were just doing... Oh, that's right, I forgot.
No.
Yeah, hey, by the way, congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Pretty excited about that, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Next chapter. Move on.
Next chapter, move on. I like it.
Get
Lee,
it done.
did you do anything fun this weekend?
Worked on my albatross.
Albatross.
Yes, the building. With all the supply chain shortages.
Albatross is also something that happens in golf, is it not, Chad?
Yeah, it's where you get it in 2 on a par 5.
That's what I thought. So he worked on his 2 in a par 5.
Yes.
That's what I heard from him. Garrett, what about you, man? Anything fun?
Nothing other than getting a dog.
Got a dog. He got a bear. He didn't get a dog. He got a bear. I saw a picture of this thing. It's like a bear.
Yeah, he's pretty cute.
What kind of dog is it?
It's a Bernese Mountain Dog.
I'm sorry, what? You got a mountain dog? But we don't live in the mountains. Why'd you
Yeah.
get a mountain dog?
He's the best. I love him.
He's pretty cool though. He's almost as big as Garrett already.
Yeah, he's gonna be huge. He'll probably be like 130 pounds when he's full size.
130 pounds.
Yeah.
That's almost me. You bought a dog the size of a human.
He'll be bigger than you probably.
Probably. You gonna get a shovel to pick up that animal?
Yeah, it's already getting big.
So do you have to like follow behind it like the horse people do at the fairs when they
Not
scoop it
quite.
up? Not quite that bad?
Not quite.
Does he let you sleep or are you up all night?
The first night was not much sleep, but the last few nights have been all right.
Yeah?
He wakes me up at like 6, which is fine.
Is that what he sounds
He's
like?
not quite a horse.
Oh. But he takes a
As
crap
big
like
as
one.
Yeah,
Yep. So that's cool. You got a dog.
I did.
What color is it?
Black, brown, and white.
So it's a mixture color.
Yeah, it's mostly black. I
That's
would
pretty
say.
cool. So it looks like a black bear when it's running at you.
Right now, it does look like a little bear.
That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. So now you get to go through the funs of training a dog.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Has it peed on the floor yet?
Yeah, I think he's doing pretty well, but yeah, he's definitely had some accidents.
Some accidents?
Yeah.
Like, let's go over under. Over under 5.
I would say he's right around 5 or 6.
So over 5. 6 is over 5. Fair. That's
It's
not
not-
that bad,
it's
actually.
not that bad.
I was just thinking of that. Like, he got the dog. What day did you get the dog on? Friday?
Thursday night.
Okay, so for Thursday night till now, he's only had 5 accidents. Like, that's a well-trained... I've had 5 accidents in that amount of time. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the last 2 days he's only had 1. We just basically have to sit by him and watch him because he has to go out like every 45 minutes. So if we don't have an eye on him, then he'll be.
So you just sit there and wait for the dog to
Yeah,
come
I'm
back.
really good at Madden. I can tell you that much.
You're getting really good at Madden? Yeah. Do you use the play clock for how often you have to let him out?
Not quite.
Oh, that's cool.
Whenever he sniffs.
So whenever oh, man, that sounds too much. Well, congratulations on your dog.
Thank you.
Today, I know last week we talked a little bit about servos versus steppers, but today, Lee, you're here, so that means we're talking about plasma.
Right on.
Well, last week's episode still applies this week.
It still applies this week. I like it. Not to mention we're talking about plasma. So bring in the needles. Oh, it's not that kind of plasma. CNC plasma. Sorry, not blood plasma.
Oh, yeah.
My bad. I have to, hold on, let me just
That was better than
throw away my notes. I had notes on the wrong topic. Yeah, so Lee, we're going to sit here silently for the next 40 minutes while you talk.
Okay.
No, we're not going to do that. That sounds terrible. But yeah, I honestly why I chose this topic, Lee, is because I had a guy who called me. Actually, I shouldn't say called me, messaged me on Facebook. He messaged Garrett and I last week. And he had a competitor's brand plasma. And he sent us some pictures of that cut. Did he not, Garrett?
He did.
And how would you describe those cuts that you saw in those pictures?
It definitely wasn't great.
It was not great. I would say they were very comparable to what your dog does in the yard. And the customer had asked us to compare the cut quality of our machine. And obviously he was very unhappy because he had that machine for less than a year.
Yep.
And he paid probably similar, if not more, for his machine than what he'd pay for a ShopSabre. And he wanted us to kind of go through some scenarios with him. And we kind of had to take a step back because, you know, we realized like there's a lot of answers to a question, but if you don't understand what we're saying, it's not really going to help you. You know, like we can tell you that ours will cut better, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your machine's going to cut better once you do it, because you still have to know what you're doing a little bit. You know, CNC plasma is kind of a wild animal on its own because it doesn't, and Lee, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it does not operate like a printer, does it?
No, not at all.
You don't get to hit the button and just walk away and like wish it good luck.
No, can't do that.
Not how it works. So, you know, we felt with Lee in town, it was a good opportunity for us to have a CNC plasma discussion. Right, Chad?
Yeah, sounds great.
We actually had a different topic on hand originally, and we called it an audible. Right?
The Lee Road Hamill Audible.
We were like, Omaha. And then we switched it. So, yeah, here we are. Actually, we can thank Garrett for the Omaha, because Garrett was like, hey, Brandon, great topic, but Lee's in town next week. Oh, yeah, Omaha. And we changed. So good call there. Garrett, proud of you.
Worked out.
Yeah. But we get a lot of questions about plasma, and it seems like the industry is growing on its own, obviously, and it's worth discussing the technology, you know, kind of the do's, the don'ts, any advice that we can give, you know, from a guru like Lee Roadhammer.
Well, just don't accept what's in front of you. You have to go to the next level on everything. I mean, you just got to push everything. It's very strange for me to see people just accept what's out there.
Other weaknesses, we're slow learners, and we're not particularly good listeners.
So you're saying people don't listen,
No.
and they don't learn from their own mistakes, and they just continue to accept mediocrity.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Chad, what do you think about this topic today? What do you think about talking about CNC plasma with Lee? Do you think that's a good idea today?
I think it's a great idea.
I think we should do that. Garrett, what do you think?
I don't see why not.
I don't see why not either. I love this topic. I believe, there's a lot that people out there, can learn from this. People who know nothing about CNC plasma expect, things that maybe they shouldn't, for one, you see a lot of people that you cut cool stuff online, right? I mean, people see cool cuts and they see stuff online and TikTok and YouTube and every other form of social media. And you see everybody's successes. Right? I mean, let's be honest. You go to social media, how many people are out there just blasting their failures, right?
Yeah.
It's not very often. You don't see people blasting their failures all over social media too often. Everybody's a hero in their own eyes, right? But the reality is behind every one of those projects, I can almost guarantee you there was a failure.
Well, I don't look at it as a failure. I just look at it as what not to do. And
Fair.
that's because a failure sounds so negative.
It is.
And you wear yourself down. Oh, I failed. No. That's right. No, I didn't fail. I just learned what not to do. What do I have to do to change it? So
you learn from your failure. So it's really not failure. It's more of a lesson.
Yes.
Right? So as we look at that, I'm nervous about the market that we're in right now, to be honest with you, because, lately there's so many pop-up companies. Right, Chad? I mean, we talked about this yesterday. You had talked about a competitor. You had a customer asking you about a competitor. And you said something to me last night that kind of has stuck with me about these pop-up companies. And do you want to share it?
Was it they weren't here last year?
Yeah.
I never heard that name last year.
Yeah. Like, it stuck with me because it's something I was driving home from work last night, and I was thinking about our conversation. And, yeah, he said, go ahead and say it one more time, Chad, for anybody who didn't catch it.
They weren't here last year.
Yeah. And you have to think about that because these pop-up companies show up. And they weren't here last year. So what means they're going to be here next year? Right? I mean, they're a pop-up company for a reason. And so, many people get misled to believe that they're buying something that they're not, and a lot of times it's nothing more than marketing. Like what you have to remember in this market, in this day and age is, marketing is a powerful tool. Marketing is how people get people interested in things, right? But reputation is facts. And I always go back to that because reputation is actually what's happening. A reputation is what people say about you after they've experienced it. Marketing is nothing more than, I guess, perception, right? It's kind
absolutely.
of something that is intended to mislead you sometimes.
Yes.
Not always, but sometimes. Sometimes people use marketing to make you believe things that are, let's be honest. If you get an email from somebody on your email that says, send me $10,000 and I'll turn it into $100,000, are you skeptical?
Absolutely.
Right? You're probably not sending that guy $10,000. What's to say you're not doing the same thing when you are on the internet shopping for these products? You send me $10,000 and I'll send you this plasma table. It is no different. So when you're out there shopping online and looking at these products and you've not talked to a single customer, haven't vetted this process out at all, you haven't actually seen the company, they don't have any YouTube channel, they don't have any real merit behind them, but a bunch of pictures or renderings on their webpage, but yet that's a safe investment. Why don't you just send that $10,000 to that, prince that tells you that he'll turn it into $100,000?
Or put it in a slot machine.
At least the slot machine, you have odds, right? Like you have a chance. Yep. So it's something that I thought was, it really resonated with me last night, Chad, after we got done talking. And I was like, man, that's true. Like they weren't here last year. And then I kind of got excited, to be honest with you, because I was like, the future's bright, especially for companies like us. Like our reputation's proven. We've been here for what? How long is it now, Garrett? 23 years?
You'd be the one to answer that. I don't know. I've only been here for 2.
Okay. So
23.
23 years. 23. I just figured the marketing guy would know what we have on our stuff. But yeah, so 23 years. 20. Whoa.
Somewhere between 20
Wait
and
a
25.
second here. How old are you?
23.
Literally, this company was born when Garrett was born. That's pretty awesome. Anyways, so when you think about that, I don't know why that got me excited, that the company and Garrett are the same age. But you have to think about that for a second, is that these companies that haven't been around 23 years, right? They may not be around 2 more years, right? They don't have the experience. Some of them don't have the financial backing to withstand the ebbs and flows of a company, or what the economy requires of you, right? Especially right now, you can bring in products from China. You can bring in cheap products from China, but everything's great when we're selling you a cheap machine from China until we have to support it, right? Mm-hmm. And then one of 2 things happens. Is holy crap, we can't get parts for these machines, so we're going to stop selling them. Or holy crap, there's a lot of failures and this is a lot of work. I don't want to deal with it. I don't understand it. I don't know how to fix it, so we're going to stop selling them, right? Mm-hmm. There's a good chance that happens to the company you buy from, and then what happens? Now you have a piece of equipment that literally has 0 support, 0 parts, and you have problems.
A big paperweight.
Big paperweight. So now you're going to be retrofitting other people's stuff to it or trying to offload a machine that doesn't work. Let me tell you, the market for things that don't work, really hot. Like, hey, here's a lightly used piece of steel. Cool. I'm not buying it.
Even in the case of, if you've had a company that's been around 23 years, they've established relationships with larger companies that power supplies and things like that.
Lee, you got to hold on to your mic, man. It's
I'm
falling in your
holding on.
lap. This is just a disaster
This is
over
it.
here.
Sorry.
Jeez. I'm sorry. Continue.
So they've established 23 years. You've established relationships with software companies and power supply companies and things like that.
Correct.
These pop-up companies, when they go to get different components, who's going to get them?
That's a good point. Also, they don't even know who to call because a lot of these pop-up companies are buying a completed product. So they buy a kit and they sell it to you. Then you put it together because that's convenient. And then you put it together wrong. So now it's not their problem. So now who do they call? Nobody. It's your fault.
Yep.
And they point the finger at you. You put it together. Who do you call? You Ghostbusters? Because that's about all you got. You can't really call anybody.
Well, what if something's damaged in shipping?
There is that possibility. Trust me. There is a possibility of that.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
have seen that on a lot of. I mean, it's not just our machines, but I mean, I got a box from Amazon yesterday,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sure the tape was all that was left.
Right.
It destroyed the box. Thankfully, what was in the box wasn't small enough to fall out of the box. Otherwise, it literally would have not been. I would have got an empty box because I'm pretty sure there was a quarter of the box missing.
Or they use it at a wheel chalk for like
Something. I guess seriously, I think the guy
7.7,
used it to hold his truck up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like it was ugly. But that's the truth. That's the stuff. I mean, that showed up to my house. So what's to say if your machine's showing up in boxes, you're not going to have the same thing?
Yep. And if it's bought like a kit and they're reselling the kit,
Correct.
I mean, where are they going to get the parts?
Well, think about this for a second. I got 5 boxes that I got to send you to build your plasma table, right?
Yep.
In those 5 boxes, I'm going to guess there's some critical components probably, right?
Absolutely.
Computer boards, you know, things like that. But you're also going to have some assembly items like bolts, nuts, washers.
Right.
If you get a hole in one of those boxes, you're taking the risk that something very critical for your machine is not going to go missing in transit.
That's very correct.
And then now you have a big giant paperweight because you don't have the necessary washers or bolts or whatever to put your machine together. So either A, you're driving to the hardware store and trying to find those components that now you are engineering, or you lost a critical component like a connector or a wire or a controller board, whatever it is. And where are you finding that?
Not at Kmart.
Not Kmart, not Home Depot. I know that.
Do they still have Kmart's?
I was just going to say it. Dude, have you seen a Kmart in a while?
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Except for by Lee's house. They have one Kmart.
I think they do have one.
It has one Kmart over
they?
there.
Yeah, I think they have one. Yeah.
Oh, man. But it's the truth, though. It's something to talk about because those are things people don't think about. Like, everybody thinks about how awesome it's going to be when they buy their new plasma table. But they don't think about the day that something doesn't go right. I will tell you firsthand, we've been building CNC plasma for close to 23 years. I won't say 23 years because we built a router table first and then went into plasma. But I can say we've been building them a long time. And I will never, ever on a phone call tell a customer that you will not need tech support one day. You know why? Because I can't control mechanics and some of the parts that things happen. I mean,
Absolutely.
I can't guarantee you a part isn't going to fail you, right?
Right.
I can guarantee you my team's going to answer the phone and take care of you.
Now, I can tell you that one for fact.
I can guarantee that. Like, I will guarantee my team will stand behind its product. If we are able to fix the machine, we will help you fix the machine. That being said, I can't guarantee that you won't have some costs associated with it because obviously if the failure point is something that you caused, obviously you're going to have a cost. If there's a failure point by something that I didn't build, then obviously there's a cost associated with whoever built it. So I can't speak for the vendor. You know, if your hypertherm cutter, as an example, has a failure, I'm going to do everything I can to get you back up and running. Hypertherm's ultimately responsible for standing behind their product or warranting it or whatever the cost may be. So I will say that. There's always, caveats to everything, but I will answer the phone every time and I will make sure that we get you a direction, that you will know which way you're going. You're going to know which way's up.
I would say that's pretty fair.
You can't always say that about an import product or these pop-up companies, right?
Well, a lot of them don't support the machine for much past a year or two.
That's
From
true.
what I think, what I feel like I see.
Yeah.
It's limited support.
I've also seen where you see guys that don't even give you a year.
Yep.
90 days. We've seen that a lot lately. 90-day support.
You can come to a class.
A class. One class. What was that over there?
I'm trying to get closer to the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys are all
Garrett's
getting
like-
so close.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
great.
yeah, we're
Garrett's over there telling him to steal second.
right.
He's like, hey, steal second. And then I see Lee moving. I got excited. I didn't know what was happening.
I thought they were flashing gang signs.
I did too right away. I was like, man, these two have their own language. They do video for a few months together, and now they speak in a language. This is crazy. Yeah, I wish people could actually see us in this room as we sit in this janitor closet on these buckets. Like, what are those guys doing over there? Yeah, no, we're just throwing gang signs while moving our buckets around the room here while holding onto our mics. It's very professional. Remember those fly-by-night companies? We're a fly-by-night podcast.
Definitely.
We were here yesterday, but we might not be tomorrow.
Well, I think just with the lifetime tech support, we're probably the only company out there doing a podcast.
I think that in itself. Like, think about that for a second. Like, how many companies exist but don't even answer the phone? They don't have a phone number for you to call. I know of a fact there is plasma companies out there that you get your tech support from forums. Could you imagine that your machine's not running right, not cutting right, whatever, you're having a problem, and go type the question on a form and wait. Like, the last thing I want to do is go to the internet and then have to wait for somebody else to decide that I'm important enough for them to answer them, right? Oh, okay. Oh, look, Bob responded. Oh, he told me he has the same problem. Cool. Well, let's keep waiting for somebody else to answer. Cool. Somebody else answered. Now they told me that it was my fault. This is really convenient.
Oh, wait a minute. I got to be careful I don't say something wrong, but
I'm ready.
I actually had a company that I purchased a machine before this one that kept telling me that for 16 months that I was doing something wrong. And then we discovered that.
No.
Continue.
And then we discovered that, well, I wasn't doing anything wrong. It was, quite frankly, the machine. And there's nothing better than calling into tech support, and they try to get you off the phone within 8 minutes.
You like that? You like that?
Yes.
Yeah, we know. I mean, I think for anybody who hasn't heard previous episodes with Lee owned a competitor's machine.
Yes.
Lee spent more money on somebody else's machine first to find out that he was the problem and that he couldn't run his machine. And then he found Brandon.
Oh, yeah.
And then I told him, no, I don't think you're the problem there, man. I think you got a machine issue going on. And Lee and I started talking, and we got him into a ShopSabre, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of ShopSabre.com. That was kind of the end of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I remember.
Well, no, actually, it was kind of the beginning.
Yeah, it was the beginning of it. Because trust me, me and Lee had many conversations at night, weekends, holidays, trying to convince Lee that what he was hearing from me is what we really do. And rightfully so. He was a little skeptical. But I had to keep reiterating that we stand behind our product, and I can't promise you roses and sunshine every day. I promise you that you may run into hiccups here or there, as you learn something or go through things, but I can assure you my team will stand behind it and will help you learn. And if you do what we say and you follow the procedures, you will have very good results.
Yep.
And how would you say it turned out for you?
Phenomenal.
I had to do that. I just love that button. But yeah, no, it's we had good results there, and like I said, really with what we're doing, it's really where we're at. So let's kind of touch real quick on Chad, what makes you nervous about the industry today? For me, what makes me nervous, like I said, is the world is searching for cheap right now because of the inflation all over the world, and there's so many cheap plasma machines popping up. People believe they're just finding the needle in the haystack, kind of, and the reality is they're finding something that is going to create disappointment long term. I don't think there's any needle in a haystack answer for this. I worry that people will get a sour taste for CNC plasma, to be honest with you. My experience typically when I have bad experience with something is that it affects my decisions further, right? Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that, Chad?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I guess, Lee, that's your perfect example of that, because you had a bad experience with plasma initially.
Yes, I did. Yep.
And then you and I had to fight an uphill battle for a little while for me to prove to you that it was a bad experience, not a bad technology.
That is correct.
Right? And, you don't always, really, you don't get an opportunity to test drive a machine, right? You can't. I mean, a lot of these machines are built to order. So it's not like you can just go out and test drive them and find which one you like best and then drive off the lot.
That's correct.
It's not how it works. It's not like a car. So you have to do a little bit more market research, is what I would say. And I guess, Lee, you talked a little bit about your experience, obviously, previously, but, Chad, what's your take on that, I guess? What's your thoughts on, or where's your concerns right now in terms of what makes you nervous about the industry, or what makes you nervous about kind of where we're at?
I guess how many cheap machines are out there, because they're cheap for a reason, and you definitely get what you pay for.
Yeah, I think you and I both have the same fear, that it's just like you're not finding this $100,000 plasma for $10,000.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they're $100,000 plasma, right? I mean, our $30,000 plasmas are going to run very different long term than a $10,000 plasma.
100%.
And does that mean a $10,000 plasma is not going to achieve a good cut quality? No. I mean, you're going to still get a good cut once in a while on a $10,000 plasma, right? Heck, you might get a good cut a lot on a $10,000 plasma. But you also have to remember that you are taking a lot of risk at that point too, because you're using components that are designed for a $10,000 price tag. So while you're getting cut quality, that's what you need or desire, how long is that cut quality going to last for, right?
This is correct.
Long enough for you to build your business and have dependency on it for it to fail? And that's what I always tell people. Really, it might work for your low usage applications, but there is going to come a day when you need that plasma to fire and do what it needs to do, and it's going to let you down. And the problem you're going to run into is now you have a $10,000 support system too. You have a machine that does not have the backing. It does not have parts availability. It does not have the stuff to get you back up and running in a timely manner.
The company doesn't support it the same.
Correct. You know, because really, let's talk about the different levels of plasma, Chad. I mean, this is a good topic for you because you obviously deal with this every single day in the sales department. But let's start off with, level one. What would you call level one plasma?
I'd call them hobby level.
Like a hobby level. So explain to me what you would. Let's just talk a little bit about that. What would you classify a hobby level machine?
Sub 10,000, definitely under 7,500.
Okay.
But they're definitely kit machines that require you to put together, stepper driven.
Okay. Yeah. So generally speaking, they're going to be sub $7,500. You're saying kits, so I'm the guy putting them together essentially. I got to do the assembly. I don't have a professional team helping me with that. I would imagine that typically means they have a lot more attention required to them.
Yep.
You should have lower expectations of these type products, right?
Yep. With lower output.
Yeah. I mean, lower output, they'll work for your garage applications, right? And then we step up, and I would step up to, I'd call it recreational levels, maybe a semi-pro level machine. 10,000 to 15,000, would you say?
Oh, yeah.
Probably a little bit less assembly. Some of them probably still require some assembly, but they're still going to be limited by the technology due to the price. I mean, when you're spending $15,000, remember that a good hypertherm plasma cutter is going to cost you $4,000 to $6,000. Okay, so if you have a $15,000 machine with a $6,000 plasma cutter, how much money does that leave left over for the actual technology in the machine?
Not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, then you have to factor in steel, and steel's not cheap right now. You have to factor in, if you get steel, let's be honest there, a lot of those machines are aluminum, right? You have to start thinking about motors and electronics and computers, software, all that stuff, all for basically $9,000. It's just not really feasible there. And then you step up to what I like to call the professional level. I think that's where we kind of step in. ShopSabre starts kind of, in that professional level. These machines generally range your 18,000 starting prices, and they kind of range upwards of, what would you say on a professional machine? What's
40.
40-ish? Yeah, 40 range. I was kind of thinking the same thing. 40, 50,000. Most of them will come fully assembled. I mean, all of our machines come fully assembled, to be clear.
Tested.
But I would say most of the competing products that we would consider true competition against what we build, they come fully assembled as well.
Yeah.
I would say there's very few kit machines that compete against that level of machine. Generally you want them fully assembled because the company that built them needs to do things to the machines. They're typically welded for one. They're a steel structure. And that helps because you're going to get better support on this level of machine. So generally the companies building those machines want to build a better machine because it's less support for them long term, right, Lee?
That is very much so.
So, and then you get training typically. I mean, somebody wants to teach you how to run the machine because, again, my product's only as good as the operator. So if the guy has no idea what he's doing, he's probably not doing a real hot job at making my machine look good.
No.
And then the biggest advantage, I think, to this professional level is you get a professional company, right? Somebody who supports it, walks you through it, helps you, answers the phone. Garrett, you awake over there? Haven't heard from you.
I'm awake.
Awake? He's there. So once we get past the professional level, we get up to, what would you consider that?
The industrial.
Industrial, commercial, kind of. That's, I was thinking commercial. You're saying industrial. I like it. I would say, in my opinion, these are the $50,000 and up, right?
The XPR cutter.
That's what I was thinking. HPR, XPR, Max Pro 200s, Ultra Cuts, whatever you want to call them. I feel like this is really where you go. This is, the high definition, heavy duty cutter capable machines. That doesn't mean you have to put a heavy duty cutter on it. You can still put a Power Max on it, right?
Absolutely.
But it's the machines that are capable of withstanding that type of cut quality. And, I think these machines will come at the highest level of technology. Obviously, you're going to have typically the best servo motors. You're going to have better controllers. You're going to have things on these machines that you won't touch.
Heavier frames.
Yeah, you won't touch these machines at $10,000. And yeah, the frames are heavier. You can put
10,000 in just steel.
That's what I was gonna say. Is these machines literally have the price of some of these other machines in steel alone? And you start looking at them. They have ballast systems in them. They have downdraft ready with zones. There's all kinds of scenarios that play into this. But there's technology that costs the same. As an example, we sell a drill head for these industrial machines that we sell that cost the same as some of these kit machines. The drill head alone is the cost of the entire plasma kit. Think about that. Like one accessory is the cost of that entire machine, turnkey. There's no way that machine is the same quality, And that's what you have to start looking at. So, what about a lower cost machine worries you guys though?
Ooh. What you get.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you get. And if it's low cost, when you go to something, down the road, breaks.
Yep.
And then you go find out that it was like made in China. They don't make it anymore. You can't source it out. What do you do when you can't get that part? Period. I mean, that would worry me to death.
I think I've gotten phone calls like that.
Yeah. I would say I think we've all gotten phone calls like that. The cost is what worries me about low cost, right? It's the low cost always results in cutting corners. I will say that for a fact. We build machines here. One thing that I do here with, fortunately with my dad and my brother being involved is we sit down and we look at what can we do to make these machines better, not what can we do to make these machines cheaper, right? When we sit down in a meeting, it's always what can we do to improve our product, to improve our customer experience, to improve our support. That's the conversations that take place at ShopSabre. We never have sat down and said, what can we do to make our machine cheaper?
I walked in here yesterday and I spoke with your brother, and he showed me all the things that you guys had done to improve quality, delivery.
Yeah.
I mean, just everything.
And that's in what, 60 days? Because
Yeah.
you were here 60 days ago?
Yeah, 60 days. And I'm like, because I asked him, I said, well, did some things change down here? He said, oh, yeah, let me show you. And he starts showing me around. It's like 7:15 yesterday morning. And I'm like, wow, this is really good. And things really improved. I mean, 60 days, there was noticeable improvements.
Yep. And now think about that. If in 60 days you can notice that. What are we doing in a year? What are we doing in 2 years? So it's something that's what scares me about cost. Is that cheap machines aren't doing those things.
Right.
They're looking at how can we cheapen our product up? How can we increase profitability? Well, if I'm not going to raise price, that means I have to make it cheaper, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you start looking at cheap products, you end up finding that you're getting a cheap product, right? And in today's world, with inflation the way it is, material costs alone are making that difficult for us not to raise prices. Yep. So if a company's not raising prices, they're cheapening their machines up. Simple as that.
Or they're doing like you do out on the floor, where you're purchasing technology so that your times go down, your setups go down.
Yep.
And that way you can maintain the quality and the price.
But even with that, we've raised prices.
Yeah,
well, and that's something I'll say is that even with all that in mind, we've still raised prices. And there's certain things you just can't overcome. And certain when steel goes up 30%,
this is true.
No matter how much I do in the back, I can't make up 30%, Like I don't have that margin. So, some of these companies, you look at their price tag, you look at ShopSabre, right? And then you go look at some of these other companies. Some of these companies haven't changed the price since before COVID. How?
No.
How? Because the cost of steel before COVID compared to the cost of steel today, significantly different. Is it not, Lee?
Yeah.
I mean, you built a building during it, right?
Oh, yeah.
How'd that go for you?
Oh, bad.
Bad? Expensive?
I don't even want to tell you what my 14 gauge went up to. It just...
Didn't make you want to dance, did it?
No, it did not.
I promise you, it's not cheap though, and that's what I'll tell everybody is that. So if you're seeing costs not changing in something, I mean, heck, there's companies out there right now that are advertising in stock and low prices. Like if that doesn't sound like a used car salesman to me, like I don't know what does, because what does that tell you about the product?
Right.
It's in stock and it's cheap.
Yep.
Why is it in stock then if it's cheap? Unless it's cheap, right?
Yep.
It's a cheap product. That's why it's in stock. People don't want it. Because I'll tell you right now, we can't stock anything.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself with how busy I am, I couldn't imagine.
Could you imagine if we had machines in stock? We'd be stupid busy. We're busy and we have lead times. Like, I couldn't imagine being a company with in-stock products right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that guy with the in-stock machine has to be just sitting there most days, maybe getting a phone call or two. Or
Yeah.
if he gets a lot of phone calls, there's tons of people passing on him.
Yep. Otherwise, the machine is so cheap, they're literally just selling straight up on price. And they're just bulk ordering from China or something like that, and they're just passing through something to you. So basically, you're paying a markup to this guy to basically order in from overseas. Like, you're not getting anything that's high quality at that point. You're buying something at a price tag. And cheap and in stock to me scares me. It just is not something that I would want to, do a lot with in terms of that. You wouldn't find that in my shop. But the biggest thing that scares me about cheap and in stock is the lack of the technology. Right? At the lower price point, you find less machine and more promises. Right? You get less steel, less power, less, name brand equipment. In almost all cases, you're going to buy an import product, right? Mm-hmm. The cheaper you go, the more likelihood that it's probably an import. And the reality is, the less money you spend, the higher the risk is, the greater the promises are, right?
Yep.
What about promises don't we like?
When they're broken.
Yeah, people break promises. And the problem with a promise is that it's only as good as the company that sold it to you. Isn't there a Tommy Boy line?
A guarantee is only as good as the person that wrote it on the box.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
You can do something with the butcher. I just can't remember what that part is.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the truth is, though, Tommy Boy's a great movie, for the record, because there are some lines in there that are true to sales. And one of them is the guarantee is only as good as who wrote it on the box. And these companies who've only been around a year, they have nothing to lose. They can promise you anything they want. What do you have to lose? They have nothing to prove, right? All they have is up. Sell a bunch of machines, and then one guy's bad comment doesn't matter, right? ShopSabre's been doing this 23 years. If we weren't doing it right, our reputation wouldn't be what it is, right?
That's correct.
We have a lot more to lose than a guy who's just starting out.
Yep.
We have 23 years of blood, sweat, and tears to lose. Yep. So if we are going to guarantee something, we're going to give you lifetime support, we're going to do things to stand behind our product. I mean, at that point, we mean it. We have a lot more on the line there. It's a hard to build 23-year reputation. So let's talk a little bit about ShopSabre, because obviously we've kind of led into that. But, as far as ShopSabre goes, Lee, what is ShopSabre's greatest kept secret?
Chad.
ShopSabre.com. Chad.
I got me in there first.
Chad's the greatest secret from ShopSabre. Okay, so after ShopSabre.com and Chad, what is the greatest secret about ShopSabre?
Well, after the sale is when the relationship starts. And ShopSabre provides so many caveats to the customer, like the university. We have training. It's a private thing that's only for our users, our machine owners, that help you along through the process. The tech support. Tech support is phenomenal. I use tech support all the time. I have a question. I can't figure something out. I call them. It goes even down to the parts department.
Does the tech support team help you?
Do they? Absolutely.
I see your lips moving, but I can't make out the words. I'm deaf.
They don't say that to you?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Well, they usually say, "Hey, Lee," but
Hey, Lee.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's true, though. You have that relationship that you've built with them over the years, right? Because you're not afraid to call them.
no, I'm not afraid to call them. I mean, wow, I've spent hours on the phone sometimes with them because
Yep.
we were going through the engraving and we were trying to figure that whole thing out.
Yeah.
And it was very casual. Okay, well, let's try this.
Now, let's be clear. I want to back up real quick, because anybody who heard that, we don't expect you to spend hours on the phone,
No.
but we will allow you to spend hours on the phone if you need us, right?
Yes, that is actually, that is correct. I be very clear on that one. That was kind of something a little different there, but
Yeah. So, and I'll just tell people what it is. I mean, basically, Lee does some pretty incredible engraving. He won't hype himself up, so we'll hype him up for him. But he does some incredible engravings. And Lee, we've shared some of yours. Garrett, I'm sure you're going to share some more of this after this episode, right? You'll share some of his stuff.
Could do that.
Perfect. And some of the stuff that you do is pretty wild. And most people don't know how to do it. And your brain works in a way that I don't think anybody else's works in terms of designing product. And it takes hours to figure some of that stuff out.
Yeah, it sometimes takes months,
Yeah.
months and months. And there's a lot of things that, as I was going through the process, the tech support guys down there, they were, it was like, well, maybe we should try this. And then I would go ahead and try it. And then I would see what the results were going to be. And then, I would have to evaluate that. And obviously, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. We're in Lakeville, Minnesota. So sometimes there's a little barrier there, but they're phenomenal with working over the phone, working through our online service that we can tap right into the machine and diagnose things and make corrections. So it's just I don't even know how to describe it, but it was an awesome process to go through.
Yeah.
And know that I was always able to pick up the phone and get that help.
So you'd say the best kept secret, from what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but from what I'm hearing you say right now is the best kept secret from ShopSabre would be the support culture.
Yes.
The entire experience, not just the actual support team, but it's the culture behind we're going to do what we need to do to help you and guide you and kind of help you learn.
Sure.
So it's the whole full circle there. So what did you find out after owning a ShopSabre that you wish you had known sooner?
that I could actually do everything I wanted to do.
Yep.
When I demanded the machine to do it, and I want to be very clear, when I demanded the machine to do it, it did what I asked it to do.
That's not always good though, is it?
No.
Sometimes it does what you tell it to do and you don't mean to tell it to do that, huh?
That's right. Sometimes you look at that and go, oh boy, did I do something wrong
Yeah,
here?
sometimes
And
when a
it
machine
did it.
listens, when a machine listens so well, it means you wreck some stuff. So no, that's good to talk about because the do's and don'ts of plasma. Something I always tell people is don't assume anything. You need to learn. You need to ask questions. You need to give guys like Chad a call. We got a great sales team here, but Chad, since you're on today, it's calling you helps somebody understand really more about that's what you do all day long, right? Is explain technology.
Yeah, I don't consider it selling. I consider it educating.
Yeah.
The more the customers know,
That's why we call you Professor Chad.
Sure.
No, but it's true though. You're educating customers. You're helping them understand things that they thought they knew. That's my favorite. You get a call from a guy and some sales guy filled them full of, the stuff Garrett's dog was talking about earlier.
We build our machines with rare earth magnets.
Earth magnets. But, things like that, and it's it's all marketing stuff at that point. You're hearing things that are marketing. It's not real life, it's a marketing guy. Tell me about how this works, and that's really what we're about is we try to help people understand specifically why we do it the way we do it. I'm not here to slam the competitor. I'm never going to tell you that the competitor's not good and that, just they're terrible people. I won't tell you that. They might be the greatest people ever. But at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you why we do things differently and how that's going to benefit you. And that's how we sell things here. So, there's many levels of CNC plasma. I know we're kind of getting to the end here, but, you got to be careful what you get yourself into. Each level is going to result in a different experience. And not every plasma is bad, but not every plasma is good. And you have to be aware of that there's a very different quality level based on the class of machine you're buying. That doesn't mean because you spent $40,000, you're buying a good machine either. There's bad machines in a $40,000 price range, right?
Yes, there is.
You have to be careful what you buy. You have to understand the technology. Some machines are just priced higher to be priced higher.
Yep.
There are better products out there. There are less expensive products out there that do work. But that doesn't mean that you can't make something work in that, entry level. It depends what your needs are. And I would tell everybody, express what your needs are to the sales guy. Make sure they know what you're trying to do because, a hobby level machine might work for some people. It doesn't mean don't go buy a hobby machine. That might be what you need, but just expect hobby level results. Don't buy a hobby level machine at $7,500 and expect it to do what a $40,000 plasma does. It's probably not going to do it. And if it is, that means that $40,000 plasma machine that you're comparing it to probably wasn't worth $40,000. You have to start looking at that stuff. Is that there are different levels of machines, and sometimes there are good deals out there. I will say that you might find a right deal, but I can say that long term in certain aspects there are benefits to bigger and better machines. And there are benefits to cheaper machines. Sometimes bigger isn't always better. Sometimes more expensive isn't always better for your need. Your needs will determine what you need. So, buying a super, cutter, buying a 105 to cut sheet metal is probably not your best investment. You know, you have to realize that just because you bought a bigger cutter doesn't mean you can cut thin stuff. Just because you bought a small cutter doesn't mean you can't cut big stuff. You have to look at what you're trying to achieve and what your end results really need to be.
I would agree with that 100%.
So at the end of the day, buy a ShopSabre and then that'll solve your problem.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
I agree with that.
That seems like a right answer, doesn't it? I mean, it might not solve your problem, but it's definitely going to make you friends with us.
Yeah, that's true.
ShopSabre.com.
But yeah, in all seriousness, give us a call. You know, let our team walk you through it. They'll give you advice. Call Lee. Lee will talk your ear off. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
Talks my ear off all the time.
Yeah.
How about you, Garrett? Does he talk your ear off?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, we'll talk about this later.
Wait a second. So yeah, but like I said, you know, hopefully today you learned a little bit about plasma. I know Lee and Garrett have some videos they're shooting right now. It's gonna be a little scary, right?
Yes.
Is that what we're gonna say?
Kind of spooky.
Kind of spooky. So
Uh-oh.
yeah, we better get back to that though. So I'm Brandon.
I'm Chad.
I'm Lee.
Garrett.
Thanks for talking shop with ShopSabre.